Welcome back, viewers. You're watching WION World is One. This is World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest. I'm Shivan Chandra.
And I'm Hem Kaur, and on the show today, the United States is witnessing an unprecedented criminal trial brought against a former or a sitting president. We're talking about Donald Trump here. Donald Trump's attorney and first witnesses delivered their opening statements. And as per the prosecution, former president did break the law and corrupted the 2016 election by covering up sexual encounters with adult movie star Stormy Daniels. What will be the implications of this? How will this pan out? We'll tell you all you need to know about this on the show today.
And while that remains our top focus, we also take a look at what's happening in the UK. UK's controversial Rwanda asylum bill has been cleared by the parliament after a lot of back and forth on the proposed plan. The bill will now allow the government to send asylum seekers to Rwanda. What will be the implications of this for Rishi Sunak? We will explore this on the show right here on World DNA. Let's get you started with the headlines.
Controversial UK government plan for deporting asylum seekers to Rwanda clears the final hurdle after a marathon tussle between the upper and the lower chambers of the parliament lasting late into the night.
That the House do now adjourn.
Prosecution in Donald Trump's hush money trial accuses former president of a criminal conspiracy to hide a sex scandal ahead of the 2016 presidential election. Calls it pure and simple election fraud.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken says United States it's looking into allegations of human rights abuses by Israel in its operations against Hamas in Gaza. Denied that the United States has double standards when it comes to Israel and human rights.
Hezbollah says it has fired dozens of Katyusha rockets at an army headquarters in northern Israel in response to raids targeting villages in southern Lebanon.
Pakistan's former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif leaves for China on a 5-day private visit. The PMLN, however, did not disclose Sharif's plans during his 5-day stay in China.
Over 80 earthquakes, strongest one being 6.3 magnitude, struck Taiwan's east coast starting Monday night and into the early hours of Tuesday. Some caused buildings to shake in capital Taipei.
Inter Milan are champions of Italy for the 20th time. Sealed the title by beating arch rivals and nearest challengers AC Milan in a historic derby.
All right, the United States is witnessing what could be seen as its most sensational trial.
Right, history is being created as for the very first time a former US president who is also seeking a re-election is standing a criminal trial here.
Now, on the first day of Trump's hush money trial, prosecution accused the former president of breaking the law and corrupting the 2016 election by covering up sexual encounters with adult movie star Stormy Daniels. The prosecution said Trump engaged in a multi-layered conspiracy of fraud, lies and cover-ups. The defense team delivered its opening statement saying that Trump was cloaked in innocence as prosecutors present the case against him. The former US president called it a very sad day.
But a thing like that, and a thing like what's going on right here should never be happening. It's a very, very sad day in America, I can tell you that. Thank you very much.
Now, following the opening statements, the first witness to take the stand was former National Enquirer publisher David Pecker. The publisher testified about his alleged role in a scheme to suppress negative information about the Republican leader ahead of the 2016 election. Pecker is expected to return to the stand on Tuesday, since his interactions with Trump have not come under the ambit of questioning yet.
Cross-examination with those testifying is likely to take place later, while the entire trial is expected to last anywhere up to 6 weeks. Trial is set to feature a slew of witnesses from the prosecution side. The case is expected to see adult movie star Stormy Daniels and Trump's former aide turned foe Michael Cohen take the stand as well. And Trump has said he also plans to testify.
Now, after day one of the trial, Trump attacked Michael Cohen as well.
Because as you know, Cohen is a lawyer, represented a lot of people over the years. Now, I'm not the only one. And wasn't very good in a lot of ways in terms of his representation, but he represented a lot of people. But he puts in an invoice or whatever, a bill, and they pay and they call it a legal expense. I got indicted for that.
Trump faces up to 34 counts of falsifying business records to cover up $130,000 payment made to buy Stormy Daniels' silence about a sexual encounter she says she had with him. The former president has pleaded not guilty to all of the charges and has repeatedly called the trial a witch hunt, flouting the gag orders.
Trump can be imprisoned up to 4 years if convicted, although a fine or probation is more likely as per analysts. A unanimous verdict will be required to convict Trump, who has been ordered by the judge to attend each day of the trial.
Now, for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani explains to us the significance of the move by the judge to allow prosecution and prosecutors to question Trump. Listen to this.
The judge's ruling could be significant because it allows prosecution to question former President Donald Trump about his recent losses in unrelated civil trials, including a fraud case which Donald Trump was found liable for conspiring to manipulate his net worth and was penalized for $454 million. Now, this could be damaging to Trump's credibility and potentially undermine his defense in this particular criminal case. The ruling might impact Donald Trump's decision to ultimately testify in his own defense, which he has mentioned that he plans on doing so, as he may be reluctant to face questioning about these recent losses and potentially incriminating himself even further. This could be a strategic victory for prosecutors. That's something to look out for, as the former president's testimony could have been a key part of his defense.
Now, Susan further elaborates how the trial would possibly affect Trump's campaigning for the 2024 presidential elections. Listen to this.
The former president will have to attend court every single day except for Wednesdays and the weekends, which will limit his ability to campaign, notably in those important battleground states. This could be a problem for his campaign, as he will have to miss out on key opportunities to connect with voters. So the Trump campaign will have to rely more heavily on surrogates, such as potential vice presidential or cabinet picks, to campaign on his behalf. Now, the former president's legal troubles have so far been beneficial for fundraising efforts, with his campaign raising tens and millions of dollars from angry supporters. And polls have shown that a conviction could be a game changer in one way or the other for the former president, with many voters saying that they would not vote for him if he were found guilty. However, Trump's base remains loyal, and he is still very competitive in national polls.
Let's shift our focus now. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's flagship Rwanda bill is set to become law after 5 months.
Well, the bill designates Rwanda as a safe country and is a key part of the government's plans to send some asylum seekers there. Now, migrant advocates, however, have vowed to continue the fight against it.
Now, this bill, it's been fiercely criticised by opposition parties, but after several debates and back and forth, the Lords dropped their objections to it late on Monday. UK Prime Minister Sunak has said that the flights to Rwanda will take off within 10 to 12 weeks, but departures could still be held up in the courts or delays in securing the planes asylum seekers would travel on.
The debate in Britain comes as countries throughout Western Europe and North America look for ways to slow the rising number of migrants. The number of migrants arriving in Britain on small boats soared to over 45,000 in 2022 from just 299 4 years earlier. Just last year, small boat arrivals dropped to nearly 29,000 after a government crackdown. Small boat crossings are a potent political issue in Britain as well, where they are seen as evidence of the government's failure to control immigration.
Sunak has staked his political future to the deportation flights, making a pledge to stop the boats, a key part of his pitch to the voters. Opinion polls, however, show that his Conservative Party trails far behind the Labour Party ahead of a general election later this year. Next week's local elections are seen as a barometer for how the parties will fare in the general election. Now, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has rejected suggestions that Washington might have double standards.
Well, this is, of course, when applying a US law to allegations of abuses by the Israeli military in Gaza. He said that examinations of such charges are ongoing. Now, Blinken's comments came during a press conference on the 2023 country report that on human rights practices at the State Department.
With regard to the Leahy Law report that I think you were referring to at the outset, this is I think a good example of a process that is very deliberate, that seeks to get the facts, to get all the information, that has to be done carefully, and that's exactly how we proceeded, as we proceed with any country that is the recipient of military assistance from the United States. When it comes to allegations of incidents of whether it's violations of international humanitarian law, rights abuses, you name it, we have processes within the department that are looking at incidents that have been raised.
He declined to tell when those processes might produce a definitive assessment. Rights groups have flagged numerous incidents of civilian harm during Israel's offensive in Gaza.
Now, this comes as Israel continues its onslaught. In the latest, displaced Palestinians rushed to the scene where several tents were pitched. This is where they lived, and this area was targeted by an Israeli airstrike in Rafah. Witnesses said that a Rafah resident received a warning call from the Israeli army asking him to tell residents to leave the area as warplanes were inbound and ready to strike.
Israel is also countering strikes from neighboring Lebanon. A barrage of some 35 rockets were fired from Lebanon at the northern community near Safed as Jewish Israelis sat down for the Passover meal. Now, the attack set off sirens in nearby towns. The IDF issued a statement saying there were no injuries in the attack and that troops shelled the launch sites.
On the other hand, new satellite photos suggest that an apparent Israeli retaliatory strike targeting Iran's central city of Isfahan had in fact hit a radar system for a Russian-made air defense battery. This contradicts repeated denials by officials in Tehran in the time since the assault and the strike on an S-300 radar represents far more damage done than in the massive drone and missile attack that Iran unleashed against Israel on the 13th of April.
و اونجا امن هیچ خبری نیست حداقل توی منطقه که ما هستیم نه جایی اینجا نصفه ها.
Moving on, now US President Joe Biden slammed anti-Israel protests at the American universities. He has said such blatant anti-Semitism is reprehensible and dangerous.
Now, the following statement comes amid continued pro-Palestine stir at Columbia University, where the crisis triggered a rabbi to urge Jewish students to stay home until the tense environment at the Ivy League school subsides. Even though Biden did not mention Columbia University in his statement, he still stressed that anti-Semitism has absolutely no place on college campuses or anywhere in our country, quote unquote.
College campuses across the United States have been rocked by demonstrations for months, and the Columbia University crisis escalated recently after university officials testified before the US Congress about anti-Semitism on campus.
On Friday last week, the varsity's president authorized the New York Police Department to raid an encampment of pro-Palestinian protesters, which led to the arrest of 108 protesters.
The protests at Columbia aren't one-off incident. They have also spread to Yale in Connecticut. There are also reports that a Jewish student was jabbed in the eye with a flagpole by an anti-Israel protester on Saturday night.
Since the 7th of October last year and the attacks that took place, American universities have become a hotbed for such protests. Presidents of multiple universities being questioned by the Republican majority House have over-reported rises in anti-Semitism on college campuses, with Harvard and the University of Pennsylvania's presidents later resigning as well.
Last week, the University of Southern California faced protests after the university cancelled the valedictorian speech of a Muslim student who'd posted on social media in support of Palestine.
Then in Northern California, tensions remain high at the University of California, Berkeley, after pro-Palestinian students criticized Israel at a dinner hosted by Berkeley's law school dean. All right, we now shift focus to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. As Ukraine is growing ever more desperate to seek strong air defenses in its bid to fend off Russian attacks, European nations remain hesitant to oblige Kiev.
And in the latest, European Union foreign ministers met in Luxembourg for talks on aid for Ukraine, where they failed to signal their willingness to supply the Patriot air defense systems to Kiev.
European Union ministers say they are looking urgently at how to provide more air defenses to Ukraine, but they stopped short of concrete pledges on the Patriot systems that Kiev values the most. Only Germany has come forward with a single Patriot missile battery in answer to Ukraine's latest request.
Now, the US made Patriot a guided missile system that can target aircraft, cruise missiles and shorter range ballistic missiles. Each battery consists of a truck-mounted launching system with 8 launchers that can hold up to 4 missile interceptors each, a ground radar, a control station and a generator. Ukraine is seeking at least 7 missile batteries to fight Russian air attacks. And Russia's air force is vastly more powerful than Ukraine's. But sophisticated missile systems provided by Kyiv's Western partners can pose a major threat to Moscow.
However, it appears that Western partners are reluctant to help Ukraine. Patriots take a long time to make, as long as 2 years, and many European nations could be prioritizing them for their own defenses. EU Foreign Policy Chief has said that the EU itself does not own Patriot missile systems, and it's up to the capitals who possess them to take the decisions now. But most of these capitals have not given any clear answer with regards to Ukraine.
I'm sorry, but they don't have patriots here in Brussels. The patriots are in the capitals. And it's up to them to take the decisions. I want to insist that a launcher without interceptor is useless. And certainly interceptors without launchers are also useless. So we need both things. We need new launchers and a continuous flow of interceptors in order to be used by the launchers. Member states came back to the capitals with a clear understanding of the request, of the needs, and I'm sure they will take decisions about it.
The Patriot system first saw combat service during the 1991 Gulf War, defending critical assets in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait and Israel. Systems later saw combat during the US-led invasion of Iraq in 2003. In 2023, the Ukrainian armed forces began operating US and German-supplied Patriot PAC-3 systems in its war with Russia.
A South African court has allowed the party backed by former President Jacob Zuma to use its name and logo in May's general election, dismissing the ruling ANC's allegations of trademark theft.
Now, the Durban High Court ruled in favour of the MK party in the latest string of court battles between Zuma and his former political party, the ruling African National Congress. The ANC tried to stop the 82-year-old's new party from using the MK name, alleging intellectual property theft. The name of the opposition MK is identical to that of the armed wing of the ANC, which Nelson Mandela led from exile during the apartheid era. WION World explains how this is yet another setback for the ANC as South Africa goes to polls on the 29th of May in what is expected to be the most competitive vote since the advent of democracy in 1994. All right, we'll get to that report as and when the developments come in there. Moving on for now, Qatar's Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani arrived in Bangladesh for a 2-day state visit on Monday.
Well, Dhaka rolled out the red carpet for Al Thani. He was greeted by a 21-gun salute upon his arrival. The Emir, who is visiting at the special invitation of Bangladesh President Shahabuddin and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, was awarded with the Guard of Honour. Emir Sheikh Tamim and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina will hold a bilateral meeting at the Prime Minister's office today. Moreover, both the countries are expected to sign 6 agreements and 5 memorandum of understandings during the Emir's 2-day visit. Now, these MOUs will cover areas including renewable energy, port management and pharmaceuticals.
Bangladesh expects petroleum-rich Qatar to play an important role in ensuring its energy security. Dhaka's foreign ministry has said that Qatar has shown interest in managing the parts in Chattogram and Matarbadi. All right, in the high-stakes world of naval supremacy, submarines reign as the crown jewels of any formidable fleet. As China's navy continues to expand its foothold, challenging rivals in the contested waters of the South China Sea.
Well, this next report tells you how a groundbreaking development in laser propulsion technology could tilt the balance of power here. Take a look.
Submarines are the ultimate underdogs of any navy. They lurk unseen, wielding devastating firepower and strategic surprise. These stealthy underwater vessels are often referred to as the silent hunters of the deep. Capable of operating undetected for extended periods and inflicting devastating strikes on enemy forces. From electric to diesel to nuclear-powered submarines, the race is on to develop more deadlier and stealthier subs. Now, Chinese scientists have taken a significant stride towards realizing the long-sought dream of laser propulsion for submarines, overcoming decades-old obstacles in harnessing this cutting-edge technology for underwater vessels. The proposed design can reportedly produce a staggering 70,000 newtons of thrust using just 2 megawatts of laser power, an efficiency previously deemed unattainable. This breakthrough not only promises unprecedented speeds, but also introduces a game-changing element of stealth. The laser pulses vaporize seawater, creating a blanket of bubbles around the submarine in a phenomenon known as supercavitation, significantly reducing water resistance and enabling near-silent operation. China already has the world's largest navy, and it is growing further. China's navy has more than 370 ships and submarines. This breakthrough in laser propulsion could provide a decisive edge to China's growing naval ambitions. This could usher in a new era of stealthy submarine warfare and further escalate the ongoing tensions in the hotly contested South China Sea region. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Hong Kong's impressive skyline boasts over 9,000 high-rises, with a staggering 4,000 exceeding 328 feet.
But a new study reveals another kind of growth spurt that's happening in the city, and it is children. This research that was conducted in collaboration of universities and health departments found that Hong Kong kids have grown taller and heavier over the past 30 years, and this is likely due to better nutrition and improved socio-economic conditions.
The findings led to the development of a brand new growth chart for youngsters, reflecting these changes in physical development. These charts will be implemented in public hospitals by the end of the year. While a weight increase was also observed, researchers noted the complexity in providing precise figures due to variations in age and growth patterns. This extensive study, initiated in February 2019, gathered data from over 21,000 children and adolescents across Hong Kong.
Now, the information, along with insights from similar studies elsewhere, form the basis for the new growth charts. These charts will be used in maternal and child health centers starting July, helping healthcare professionals better monitor the development of Hong Kong's younger generation. And with that, it's time now for a short break.
Don't go anywhere. This is World DNA. On the other side, when we come back, we bring you more updates from Taiwan, where over 80 earthquakes have struck the island nation in early hours of Tuesday. The tremors shook high-rises in the capital city of Taipei, and according to the Central Weather Administration, the quakes were of 6.3 magnitude.
Also on the other side, Russia sentences Meta platform spokesperson Andy Stone to 6 years in prison for publicly defending terrorism. We'll get you all the details on this on the other side. Stay tuned.
India's Global Voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. Everyone loves a contest. But sport isn't just about victory and defeat. When the GOATs in sport speak, you hear it first on WION.
You have to play good cricket over a period of time.
I should push myself right out of the damn tournament.
We go beyond the stats. Our stories are quoted the world over.
At WION, sport is part of our DNA. Come, join us on this journey. Weekdays 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest. Let's get you started with the headlines we're tracking for you at this hour.
Controversial UK government plans for deporting asylum seekers to Rwanda clears the final hurdle after a marathon tussle between the upper and lower chambers of the parliament, lasting late into the night.
Prosecution in Donald Trump's hush money trial accuses former president of a criminal conspiracy to hide a sex scandal ahead of the 2016 presidential election, calls it pure and simple election fraud.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken says United States is looking into allegations of human rights abuses by Israel in its operations against Hamas in Gaza. Denied that the United States has double standards when it comes to Israel and human rights.
Hezbollah says it has fired dozens of Katyusha rockets at an army headquarters in northern Israel in response to raids targeting villages in southern Lebanon.
Pakistan's former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif leaves for China on a 5-day private visit. The PMLN, however, did not disclose Sharif's plans during his 5-day stay in China.
Over 80 earthquakes, strongest one being 6.3 magnitude, struck Taiwan's east coast starting Monday night and into the early hours of Tuesday. Some caused buildings to shake in the capital, Taipei.
Inter Milan are champions of Italy for the 20th time. They sealed the title by beating arch rivals and nearest challengers AC Milan in a historic derby.
Over 80 earthquakes have struck Taiwan early Tuesday morning, according to the nation's Central Weather Administration.
Now, the 6.3 magnitude tremors also caused a scare in the capital, Taipei city. Of course, fresh tremors were felt at 2:26 a.m. local time, shaking the island nation. However, no casualties have been reported yet. Taiwan has been jolted by a series of earthquakes since the 3rd of April.
In East Taiwan's Hualien, at least 14 people died on the 3rd of April after a 7.2 magnitude earthquake struck the eastern county. And since then, there's no end to Taiwan's miseries. According to the fire department in Hualien, the hotel, which had already been damaged on the 3rd of April, is no longer in operation as the building is leaning on its side.
Now, Taiwan lies near the junction of two tectonic plates, which makes the island nation prone to earthquakes. In 2016, over 100 deaths were reported after a major earthquake wrecked southern Taiwan, while a 7.3 magnitude quake killed more than 2,000 people in 1999. Now, for more on this, TVBS correspondent Vivian Assau sends us this report on the on-ground situation. Listen to this.
Since the April 3rd earthquake, aftershocks have been continuously shaking Taiwan. This devastating event in Hualien County reached a magnitude of 7.2, resulting in 17 deaths and injuring more than 1,000 people. On Monday, Hualien was hit again by major tremors, this time measuring 5.9 in magnitude. The quakes continued into the early hours of Tuesday, causing two buildings to tilt. Both buildings were vacant when the incident occurred, as they were previously marked as code red damaged following the quake in early April. In response, the Hualien County government suspended classes and work on Tuesday to prevent further damage and injuries. The Central Weather Administration reports that from midnight to 6 a.m. on Tuesday, there were 83 earthquakes, the strongest being magnitudes of 6 and 6.3. Geologists link these recent quakes to the aftershocks of the April 3rd earthquake and have issued warnings of more seismic activities expected in the near future. Since that initial quake, Taiwan has experienced over 1,000 aftershocks.
Now, European tours for Indian citizens has just gotten easier. The EU has introduced new visa rules for Indian nationals.
And of course, now they're offering long-term multi-entry visas that are valid for up to 5 years under the new cascade regime. Now, through the new rules, the European Commission aims to streamline the process and provide greater accessibility. Indian nationals applying for Schengen visas in India can now benefit from easier access to visas with extended validity. The EU said in a statement that this is based on their travel history and passport validity. According to the statement, this decision is in line with the EU-India Common Agenda on Migration and Mobility.
But what changes for you as per the new rules? Now, the newly adopted visa rules for Indian nationals introduce a cascade regime for Schengen visa holders. Under this regime, Indian citizens can obtain long-term multi-entry visas. They are valid for 2 years after using 2 visas within 3 years. Following the 2-year visa, eligible applicants may receive a 5-year visa contingent on passport validity. Holders of these visas enjoy travel rights similar to visa-free nationals throughout the validity period.
Investors are sending mixed signals about the future of the US economy. On one hand, the price of gold and Bitcoin are soaring, reaching record highs. But on the other hand, the treasury market remains remarkably calm.
Right, with bond yields also at a lows, we'll delve into the seemingly contradictory trends that we are seeing here and what they might mean for the US fiscal future. Here's a report.
The U.S. national debt has ballooned to a record $27 trillion, with the budget deficit reaching $1.7 trillion in fiscal year 2023. This rapid debt accumulation is raising concerns about the country's long-term fiscal health. As a result, investors are seeking alternative sources of value. Gold prices have surged to a record high of $2,431 per ounce, often viewed as a hedge against inflation and economic uncertainty. Bitcoin, the leading cryptocurrency, has also experienced significant gains, reaching a peak of $73,803 in March. The Treasury market, a key indicator of investor confidence in the U.S. government's ability to repay its debts, remains relatively calm. Yields on Treasury bonds, which reflect the perceived risk of holding them, haven't significantly risen despite the growing debt. The U.S. Congressional Budget Office projects the U.S. debt held by the public to reach 106% of GDP by 2028, compared to 97% in 2023. This rapid growth is fueling anxieties about a potential debt crisis, especially considering the rising interest payments on the debt, which are already exceeding spending on national defense in some months.
This fiscal pressure is driving investors towards an alternative assets like gold and Bitcoin, perceived as hedges against a weakening US dollar. Bitcoin has also benefited from the launch of new exchange-traded funds and the halving event, where rewards for mining are cut in half, historically bullish for its price. This conflicting scenario raises questions about the true risk perception surrounding US debt. Are gold and Bitcoin signaling a coming storm, or is the treasury market justified in its relative optimism? Only time will tell how these concerns will play out in the future. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Moving on now, the global economic slowdown, rising geopolitical uncertainties and higher than longer interest rates combined to drag venture capital investments to a 5-year low in the January to March quarter.
Now, a KPMG report showed that global VC investments fell from $83.8 billion across 9,458 deals in October to December 2023 to $75.9 billion across 7,520 deals in the first 3 months of 2024. The level of VC investments was the lowest since April to June quarter of 2019, while the total number of deals was the lowest level since 2016.
Now, the extended drought in exits and pullback in late-stage deals signified weakness in the venture capital market this year. Exits and late-stage deals, for those unfamiliar with the term, signify robust investment activity that helps startups and investors.
Global exit activity remained muted, falling from $49.8 billion in the last 3 months of 2023 to $30.7 billion in 2024. That was the lowest level since October to December 2016.
While VC investments fell in the Americas and Asia Pacific, they rose in Europe thanks to H2 Green Steel mega deal. Nevertheless, the total number of deals in Europe dropped from 2,419 to 1,798 in just a matter of a few months.
Despite overall weakness, the US remained the top investment destination, grabbing over 43% of the funds in the January to March quarter. Now, clean tech and AI were the standout performers this year, as both industries accounted for 8 of the top 10 deals globally.
Now, looking ahead, the April to June quarter is unlikely to be any different either.
Well, all eyes will be on the US IPO market here, and a few successful listings in the world's largest economy could complete to open their funding tap as well. All right, next up, let's get you some more updates from the world of technology next.
All right, here's a look at all of the developments here. And according to a report by the Stanford Internet Observatory, a cyber tip line that was set up 26 years ago to combat online child exploitation is not working properly.
The team added that the helpline needs urgent technological and other improvements to help law enforcement go after abusers and rescue victims. As per US law, tech companies must report any child sexual abuse material they find on their platforms to the system. While the sheer amount of cyber tip line reports is overwhelming, researchers say volume is just one of several problems core to the system. Lack of skilled engineers is also one of the pertinent issues, and then there are the legal constraints. In the past, courts have ordered the tip line staff to stop vetting files before sending them to law enforcement. Many law enforcement officials believe they need a search warrant to access such images, slowing down the entire process. At times, multiple warrants or subpoenas are needed to identify the same offender, and the cyber tip line received more than 36 million reports in 2023, nearly all of them from online platforms. Facebook, Instagram and Google were the companies that sent in the highest number of reports. The report comes amidst the rise in AI-generated deepfakes. It is believed artificial intelligence technology can worsen the problems, leading to an increase in child abuse content.
And Russia has sentenced Meta platform spokesperson Andy Stone to 6 years in prison for publicly defending terrorism. As per reports, the verdict was given in Stone's absence. Stone's lawyer, Valentina Filippinova, plans to appeal the sentence, stating that she has requested an acquittal. Meta itself has been labelled as an extremist organization in Russia. Not just that, platforms like Facebook and Instagram have been banned in the country since 2022 due to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Last year, Russia's Interior Ministry had initiated a criminal investigation into Stone without specifying the charges, and according to Russia's state investigator, Stone had published online comments that defended aggressive and violent actions towards Russian soldiers involved in Ukraine.
In Korea, researchers have discovered a cheaper alternative to lithium batteries. Scientists at the Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology have developed a high-power hybrid sodium-ion battery that charges in seconds. Sodium, which is also found in your regular table salt, is nearly 1,000 times more abundant than lithium in nature. This makes sodium-ion batteries potentially cheaper and more feasible. The study also suggests that these batteries could replace lithium-ion ones. And as per the study, sodium batteries offer high energy density and fast charging, making them suitable for various applications from mobile devices to electric vehicles and even large-scale energy grid systems.